Just about every Route 1 in the Pokemon universe has a bird, maybe a bug, and then there's this dude. This dude is just a dude, and he's your dude. And the small dude trainers you find in the early to mid-game love this dude. This dude is likely their only dude, and it's this dude's job to help round out your team until you catch some more interesting dudes. But what if these dudes and dudettes could be the dude? What if they were the best dudes? The most interesting dudes? Well, now they can be. This is Pokemon Infinite Fusion, the fan game with over 175,000 different Pokemon combinations. And we're here today to see if we can beat a hardcore Nuzlocke using only normal-type Pokemon. That means if a Pokemon faints, it's considered dead. The level cap is the next leader's ace, no active items can be used in battle, and we're going to be playing on set mode. If you haven't yet, please help me out by subscribing and maybe leaving a little like. Anything helps get these videos out to more people, and the more people who watch, the more time I can give to making these runs great. But, anywho, let's get into it. Like with my other monotype runs, I've given myself every normal-type Pokemon in Infinite Fusion at the time of this recording. Once they have a fusion partner, I cannot unfuse them. We're also going to be playing on Modern Mode, which jacks up the difficulty, changes the trainer types, and changes our encounter routes as well. Our first few encounters, and that's a Fletchling, shit, and a Joltik. Before facing off against Rando, we go ahead and fuse Apom with Shinx, and Shapam is super cute. On Route 22, we grab ourselves a Duskull, and then we fuse Porygon with Ralts, because there is no way I can resist the hot cards that are to come. And also, actually is hilarious. Facing off against Rando again over on Route 22, he sends out his Shinx, and we send in our Sheepom. After a few scratches, we take it down easily enough, but his Eevee does some massive damage to us. However, thanks to our Berry, a few tackles managed to take it down. For our final two encounters before Brock, we grab this Molten Egg and this little Dancer. Despite both of them being normal types, I have to fuse Jigglypuff with Bidoof. If you've ever watched my streams, then you know that Fodder is the unofficial team mascot of the channel, and she'll be coming in soon enough. Fusing Sentret and Duskull proves to be quite adorable, and now it's time for us to face off against Brock, with his steely stare that matches his steely resolve, and Steel Pokemon. He sends out this regular duck, and Ralgon posts something mildly offensive in the YouTube comments, which blows his mind. C Jr. comes in next, and our keyboard warrior isn't quite effective against it. We go back and forth for a bit, popping my berry as I go ahead and raise my evasion. Despite all my evasion boosts, he never seems to actually miss, so I go ahead and send him my ferret. After a few nightshades and him popping my berry, we earn our boulder badge. After grabbing our fish, we find Nurse Joy outside Mount Moon tending to this wounded Geodude. Brock comes over to help, leaving his first shift down in the mines, and it isn't very well ventilated down there. He flashes Blue Steel at the Geodude, who suddenly perks up, and so does Nurse Joy, and they run off together into the sunset. In Mount Moon, we grab this rock, and our little monkey cat evolves into a neckbeard. Fodder's also one step closer to her glorious final form, and this ghost gets very long. We find Team Rock at the end of the tunnel attempting a triple fusion. After beating up this nerd and breaking their machine, they leave in shame. And they also leave all their equipment, which is super rude. Over on Route 4, we grab a Charmander and we fuse it with this teddy bear, and look at him! Next, we take our Riolu, evolving it and fusing it with the mama to go ahead and get this glorious little pair. I love the baby! And check out those legs! And finally, Fodder becomes the little wiggle it was always meant to be. And our little teddy gets a little cheeky. And our commenter has finally shown their real face. Over on Nugget Bridge, Rando asks if we can have a conversation with him, a normal human man. Questioning the phrasing of his question, he goes ahead and sends Cottonix up against our bear. A Fire Fang takes it down in one, leading into a Solovee. Fan Attack activates his berry, and after a second, we go ahead and take it out. Ninjard is saved by having a Focus Sash, but once it heals up, we take that down as well. His final Pokemon is this fish, so after we smack it a few times, we defeat Rando, and this very normal human man runs away. We grab a hold of this balloon and float over to Bill's house, where he's trying to test whether or not a Pokemon can be fused with a human. After discovering that he can, we help him reverse the fusion so we can maintain his normal human body with rocky pieces elsewhere. And now we can face off against Misty and her Ice-type Pokemon. This bunny comes in first, and after a fake out, we use a Swords Dance to go ahead and raise our attack. Going for a Rock Smash, we manage to take it out in one, leading into Manras. Going for a Rock Tomb, we managed to score a crit, getting the Oko and our Cascade Dash. On our way over to Vermilion, we grab ourselves a bunch of new friends, reverse our commenter into a VTuber, and then we go ahead and get some more friends for good measure. We find Rando over on the SSA, and he's doing some research on how humans operate in social situations, once again stating that he is indeed a normal human man. He'd request to have a Pokemon battle. His cotton cat's evolved a bit, and he stuns our sassy bear. After taking a charge, he heals up and pops our berry. Managing to break through the power, we go ahead and take it down in 2. Next up is Niniyard, and this plays out the same as usual, heal and deal. Solovey could be a problem, so we go ahead and swap into Durit, and for some reason I click Nightshade. He goes for a Calm Mind, and we just keep on going for Pursuit, and then after that he goes ahead and uses Stored Power, and takes out our first Pokemon of the run. Swapping into Lupin, we go for a Spark, take it down, and this fish stands no chance against our 4 ears. And with that, it's time for us to face off against Surge and his fighting type team. Starting off with Nosekey, our VTuber downloads some comments. After he sets up the rocks and tosses them, we smooch him to heal back up, activating his Sturdy. Surge goes ahead and heals up, but it doesn't quite get him back to full, so we take him down on the next turn. Coughloom is up next, and a Mach Punch does some good damage to us, but after a few kisses, we take it down as well. Houndlade comes in next and asks for a smash, but he can barely hold on after just one kiss. So after healing up, we go ahead and finish him off, getting our Thunder Badge. Fighting our way over to and through Rock Tunnel, we encounter, well, a bunch of Pokemon. Fusing our Snorlax with Gyarados, we get the Sleepy Deep Reverse Sea Monster Man. Next up, our VTube evolves into OnlyFans, and our Neckbeard becomes an X-Ray Technician. And finally, our cheeky teddy bear bulks up to a big bear. Over in Pokemon Tower, Rando asks to learn about the concept of death. He asks if all humans experience death. He asks if we fear it. Then he sends in his cat. After getting seated, we take it down in 1 charge, raising our speed. Axcon's out now, swapping into Porivoire and getting an Oko with his Mujikiz. Niniyard's out now, and a Psychic does some pretty good damage as he U-turns out into this fish. We score an Oko on it, then take down the big bug, leading into his starter. One hit gets it down to its berry, and after another one, we take it down, leading into his final Pokemon, Litzel, which is no match for our lass. Rando continues to just insist that he's a normal, regular man, and then we hear some shouting on the other end of the room. Upon investigating it, we find Team Rocket, and they take this old dude upstairs to do God knows what. Rando says he's downloaded the PDF for the next step of our journey, and requests that we follow him to Celadon. Okay. We grab our totally regular Pikachu and an Eevee, and then we meet up with Rando, who's screaming about something about running command murder.exe. The Rocket grunts he's fighting, turns tail and run, and he lets us know that he'll meet up with us as soon as he runs a diagnostic. Goes to the Pokemon Center. Within the sewers, we find Team Rocket's secret base. Fighting our way through it, we go ahead and have our bear evolve into a dragon. We find Giovanni at the end of the base in his office with Erica. He whispers something softly into our ears, and then the battle begins. What was he doing with Erica? He starts off with the Smoking Bird, and our mama fakes it out, going for a Swords Dance. A Drill Peck doesn't do much, and he heals us up with a Pain Split as we go ahead and get to +6. After our first Brick Break, he heals up, but our second one gets the KO. Kekgon didn't get the memo about us having fighting type moves, so after we pop our berry, we go ahead and take it down. Disdain is out now speeding with our level up, we go ahead and take it down to its Sash, which I forgot it had, and our Kanga goes down. Sending out Lux Palm, a bite finishes it off, and Smeargar comes in. I managed to hold on from a Hyper Beam, and after 2 bites, bye-bye, Team Rocket! Needing to fill a spot in our team as well as in our hearts, we go ahead and fuse Meowth with Zubat and evolve it all the way into this really cool flying cat. It's too bad he's going to lose his entire body when he evolves again. In modern mode, Erica's a bug trainer, starting things off with Galvanape. Perbat goes for a Technician boosted Fake Out, and then on second turn, we take it down. A Wing Attack makes Quick Recover Ace as well, but we do get burnt by the Flame Body. Roaster comes in, getting us down below half, but with our berry kicking in, only 2 more attacks is what we need to earn our rainbow badge. Back in Pokemon Tower, we pick up this friend and rescue Mr. Fuji, who's apparently the original creator of the Master Ball, and Team Rocket's planning to invade Silph next. And while that's pretty bad, I have an appointment with a ninja, and also my cat loses all his limbs. And that ninja is Koga, the Fuchsia City gym leader, and he's the Master of Darkness. Starting things off with this Ririon, we send in Pour Ivoire. After setting up 2 Calm Minds, a Psyshock does about 50% to us, so we go for a Kiss, only to reveal that it's a dirty Zodic trick. And the second one takes it down. Abtop is out next, and one Smooch puts it to bed, leading into Haunch Fire. A Sucker Punch does okay damage to us, but we manage to heal back up and stack another Calm Mind. Another Kiss puts it down, and he sends in the Wheel Weirion, who only takes 2 more hits to take it out. And with that, we earn our Soul Badge. Over in Silph, we run into Rando, who has some weird blue eyes with text scrolling across them. He just keeps muttering murder.exe over and over again. Then Steam starts shooting out of one of his ears and he readies a Pokemon. Guys, I don't think Rando's a regular human man. He sends out this big cat, begins to our bear, and one fire punch he goes down after setting up a Tailwind. Fragon's out next, and a Rock Slide does decent damage to us, as a Feint Attack does barely anything. Swapping into Pour Ivoire, we go ahead and avoid the next Rock Slide, and a Kiss takes it down. Ninjard's up next and does huge damage to us, and a Discharge doesn't quite do enough. Swapping into Snordos, Ebaton passes into Vaporeon. A Hyper Voice does okay damage, and a Crunch does just over half, and after we get knocked down to about half, we get the KO. This cat throws its fire at us, cutting our attack down, so Crunch does barely more than half. Swapping into Purbat, a Fire Blast does okay damage, and we can finish it off with a Feint Attack. With Magtic as his next Pokemon, it gets us low enough to pop our berry, and after a few wing attacks, we finish it off. Only Ninjard remains, so after one more wing attack, we manage to do a soft reset on Rando, and he returns back to normal. Rando confesses to us that he's actually an android created by Professor Oak to be our rival and to make sure that we stay on the top of our game, but he's broken free of his programming, wanting to be a real boy, and the best that there ever was. Giovanni catches wind of this conversation and challenges us to a double battle, saying that he wants to steal Rando. That's rude. Rando sets up a sub, taking a flash cannon as well as a sludge bomb, and for the first time ever, it doesn't get Oko'd here. Setting up 2 Dragon Dances, Whimsray takes a few turns before it eventually goes down. A Crunch KOs his Aegis, and Lampsill burns the bird. And then it hazes away our staff buffs. With Keck gone out, a Fire Blast does basically nothing to us, and a Rock Slide KOs the cat. A Brick Break from us does about 60%, with Fragon coming in. Another Rock Slide does okay damage, popping our berry, and another of Rando's Pokemon goes down. But so does his dragon. Magtix and Donzor come out, and this thing has the audacity to KO my Snordos. I swear Giovanni kills more Gyarados fusions than any other Pokemon in any of my runs. Sending in Purbat and Eevee, we go ahead and double into Donzor, getting it into the red, while Haunting activates my berry. After healing back up, we're still on the same page, getting it down into the red and KOing it on the following turn. Haunting slams us again with a Sludge Bomb, so I go ahead and swap into Fodder. On the following turn, I get knocked down to 1 HP, but our baby holds on, and we defeat Giovanni, kicking Team Rocket out of Saffron. The Silph president gives us some leaves, and we go ahead and fuse these 2 babies together to form this little baby. Then we take a few minutes to evolve it a few more times, and look how cute she is. This little chonk shall never perish. Next up is Politoed with Slaking, and this has to be a reference to something. Ain't he big? Next up, our VTuber returns in the ad to help you discover hot guards in your area. Sabrina's a fairy-type trainer in this version, and is she the hot guard? She is currently in my area. Huh. She starts up the battle with Togatails, and we send in our bat. A Fake Out does what it needs to do, and then a Poison Fang gets it down super low. After healing up, we manage to get the poison off, wasting her second potion as well, before eventually going down. Silvoir is certainly a hot guard, and after we manage to hold it down after a Psychic, we take it out in the second hit as well. Maricue's out next, and we need to swap, sending in our pop-up. After missing a Play Rough, we cut its attack, and the second one managed to do a crit for big damage. We give it a smooch, but I need to know why this sack of bones has been eating because it's still doing way too much damage. With Clefixin, we go ahead and swap into Perbat, and then we get tossed. Going for a fake out, I forget this thing has Rocky Helmet, and I KO myself. Setting in Bliss Fable, a flamethrower does about 50%, so after a few of those, we take it down, and I should have just done that in the first place. But at least we have our Marsh badge now. After seeing how impressive Giovanni's Kekgon was, we go ahead and take the opportunity to pick up our own Kekadile. After stopping by our house to get an egg from our sister, it's time to face off against Blaine and his psychic Pokemon. He starts things off with this creepy ball pit, and Polyking takes it down after a heal and a few slaps. Galchomp comes in next, so I send in Gendler, who apparently got fused off screen. A Leaf Blade does some pretty good damage, and a Dark Pulse does a lot less than I expected. Switching up for a Stab Shadow Ball, we managed to take it down while getting super low ourselves. With Octotor out, I swap in the Kekagile, taking a Hydro Pump and going for a Crunch. But it somehow stays up with like 1 HP despite not having a Sash, and the next pump takes down our Croc. Sending Polyking back in, I go ahead and take it out, and Zykin comes in as his final Pokemon. A Sky Attack does some pretty good damage to us, and a Play Rough from us does a little bit more than enough for the Oko, and our Volcano badge. We hatch Squirtle from our sister's egg and decide to fuse it up with Miltank for a gallon per second coming out of this bad boy. We catch up with Team Rocket, who managed to not only perfect their triple fusion machine, but also capture all 3 Kanto legendary birds. Giovanni challenges us with the ultimate power that he's cultivated, but he didn't account for one thing. Discharge, baby. If you watch any of my previous videos, you know that Discharge, Rock Slide, and basically any spread move are huge advantages when it comes to Zamokuno. After 2 rounds, we almost take the first 2 heads down, but for the first time in a long time, I lose a Pokemon here. Sending in Blast Tank, a Surf takes the 2 of them out, and we barely hold on from a Thunderbolt. Swapping in a Lux Bomb, we can take it no problem, with a double hit finishing things off, and Team Rocket and Giovanni blast off for the final time. Back in Viridian City, we go ahead and fuse our bull with this sword, and after force feeding it a bunch of candy, we're ready for Giovanni for the 4th time. But this time it's for a badge. He starts things off with this blob of self-loathing, and we go ahead and send in the Lux Bomb. A double hit does some big damage. After using all 3 of his full restores, we manage to take it out while taking minimal damage ourselves. His next Pokemon is Snorking, so I go ahead and swap into my Floating Deer and go for a Calm Mind. After stacking 3, a Dark Pulse does pretty okay damage, but now we're down low enough for our berry. Lucky for me, the next one does a little bit more damage, and we go ahead and grab the KO. Irancy is out next, setting up the sand, and this boy is thick. We start trading back and forth for a while, but I get a little too cocky, letting a Stone Edge take me down low enough for the Sandstorm to finish off my deer. Sending in Blast Tank, we go for a Surf, which is what I should have done in the first place, and he swaps into Mapam. Surf does about 50%, and lucky for me, he misses his first attack. His next attack connects, getting us down below half, but we manage to pick up the KO. Coffee King is his next Pokemon, so we go ahead and swap in a Lux Palm, taking a pretty big hit. Going for a bite, we do about 60%, but after another Play Rough, our second Pokemon of the fight goes down. Sending in Aegirus, our Night Slash goes ahead and takes it out. And Taransi comes back in, and with one more hit, we earn our Earth Badge. Needing to fill our team back out, we take our Elekid and we go ahead and fuse it with a 4 Enthusiast, and I gotta say, this guy's pretty neat. Next up is our Eevee with Buttery, and each stage of this evolution is really neat. I love it. We catch back up with Rando over on Route 22. He asks us what it means to be alive while staring off into the sunset. We take a moment together to just watch. And then we battle. Because Pokemon. His dragon comes in first, and with an ice beam, we go ahead and take it down. Just don't think about where the ice is coming from. His Floofy Cat is out next, swapping into Vor. Moonblast does some okay damage to us, and a Seed Bomb does massive damage. An Ice Punch from us doesn't quite get the KO, so we swap into Aegiros, taking a hit. Setting up a Swords Dance, he blasts again with mixed results, and we go ahead and finish it off. Magtick is out now, and a Night Slash does a bit more than half as he sets up a Shell Smash. Afraid of this thing, I send in Polyking as an Ice Beam does very little, and we can take it down pretty quickly. His Fire Cat comes in next, and after maxing out its evasion and overheating, we miss a bunch of turns, but eventually take it down in 2. Ninjard comes out, so after we heal up and after a Swagger, I can probably KO myself, so we're going to swap into Blast Tank. A few X-Scissors do some decent damage, but after 2 Surfs, we get the KO. Vaporeon is his final Pokemon, and after a Surf, we get smacked down to my Berry, and then we both heal up. Swapping into Blissfable, I go for a Toxic, and then we start kissing. And after a few rounds, we take Rando down, and we head towards Indigo. After getting to the Pokemon League, let's go ahead and take a look at our team before we face off against the Elite Four. First up, we have Blast Tank with Milk Drink, Toxic, Ice Beam, and Surf. Blissfable with Minimize, Soft Boiled, Toxic, and Draining Kiss. Lickifire with Knockoff, Power Whip, Thunder Punch, and Ice Punch. Aegiros with Swords Dance, Iron Head, Night Slash, and Sacred Sword. Polyking with Play Rough, Hammer Arm, Earthquake, and Slack Off. And Isunny with Psychic, Morning Sun, Shadow Ball, and Calm Mind. Lorelei and her water Pokemon are our first challenge, starting off with our own Frog King up against our Vor. An Aqua Jet does very little damage to us, but a Thunder Punch is more than enough for the KO. Scartops comes in doing big damage to us, but once again, 1 punch. King starts out next, and we manage to do some big damage, and then she uses her first potion. After using her second, 2 more rounds take down the King Star, and we're getting pretty low ourselves. Garricue's out next, so we go ahead and swap into Aegiros, as a Play Rough does basically nothing. An Iron Head breaks the disguise, and another hit from her does even less than the first. Another Iron Head from us gets it down to the red, with 1 more taking it out. Her Ace Milatina is out now, so we go ahead and swap into Polyking, getting hit with a super effective Aura Sphere. Going for a Play Rough, we get it down to about 30%. I'm not sure why it just let us KO it without taking any more damage, but with Pikachu as her final Pokemon, I swap into the Cheese, and we just Toxic each other. After that, I spam raising my stats as she goes ahead and keeps on trying to use Destiny Bond. And I just kind of let the clock run out, and eventually, we take it and Lorelei down. Up next is Bruno and his rock Pokemon. Starting things off with this bird, we send in our cow. Going for an Ice Beam, we do a lot less damage than I expected we would do. I know he said it's a stand, but still, I thought we'd do more. He heals up for some reason, and swapping to Surf, we do a lot more damage. After he heals up again, rinse and repeat for the KO. Up next is Marorier, and this thing goes down in 1. Armazor takes a hit pretty well, and his superpower gets us way down into the red, activating our Berry. A second Surf safely takes it down, and Kriluff is out next. We drink our milk, and he decides to go for a U-turn into Kingron. Setting up a Toxic, the Crab Hammer does a little bit to us, so we go ahead and heal back up to full. At this point, I remember that Ice isn't super effective against Rock, and after a couple of Surfs, we grab the KO. With Kriluff back out, a Stone Edge does decent damage to us, and we heal back up. Only for it to want to see more. Freak. We keep on squirting milk into our face, and he starts slurping way too much, and it's super weird, and he goes ahead and U-turns into Aerodon. Setting up a Toxic, he does okay damage to us with a Double Edge. After healing ourselves back up, 1 Surf finishes him off, and with Kriluff back out, a few Ice Beams grab the KO. And we're moving on to Agatha. Agatha's a poison trainer in this version of the game, and her lead Pokemon is super exploitable. Sending in a Sunny, we can go ahead and safely set up Calm Mind because this thing literally cannot attack you. It only has setup moves and Destiny Bond. After stacking a bunch, she goes ahead and swaps into Arnix, and we can proceed to destroy every single Pokemon on Agatha's team. Sorry, Agatha, but it's time we moved on to Lance. Lance has finally embraced that having 5 Dragonites doesn't necessarily make you a Dragon Trainer, and he's decided that he really loves birds. Starting off with Toga Flame, we go ahead and send in Linkavire. He U-turns out into Snorkor, who the AI usually forgets has Poison Heal, but he didn't this time. As an EQ does big damage to us, we can go ahead and take it down in 2. Toga Flame comes back in, and a Moonblast does some pretty good damage, but a Thunder Punch gets the KO. Septidactyl comes in just to get slapped over into next Tuesday. His ace Batman comes in, and after we swap into Blast Tank, a few Ice Beams manage to take it down, and we're getting to just about half. Volcageon is out next, getting it down pretty deep into the yellow. A Bug Buzz activates our Berry, and the second Ice Beam gets the KO. His final Pokemon, Age of Menace, is out, setting up a Swords Dance. We go ahead and drink our milk, and just try to hold on long enough for these outrages until it's confused. Swapping to Surf, we get lucky that he hits and KOs himself. And we're moving on to our final battle against Rando. In the Champion Chamber, we find Rando. He says he's discovered the meaning of existence and what it means to be a normal, non-organic human man. All he needs is an organic body. Our perfect body. And he will take it by any means necessary, so long as it's through a Pokemon battle. He starts off with his Ninsharp when we go ahead and send out Poliking. An Ironhead does minimal damage as an EQ does just over half. He heals up, going for another few Iron Heads, but we manage to take it down. Torter Neon comes in, so we go ahead and swap into Bliss Fable, taking 2 Flare Blitzes barely. Going for a Toxic, he manages to get the burn off with the Scald, but between the recoil and the poison, he manages to take himself out after we heal ourselves back up. Luxius is out next, and 353 HP ain't enough for Stab. Retaliate from God. Setting Blast Tank in, we go ahead and go for the poison, and then we swap into Vor as Rando heals up our status. Our Retaliate does about 50%, popping our Berry, and we go ahead and knock off his Life Orb. And E-Speed gets us down pretty low as we go ahead and smack it below 50%. Swapping into Aegiros to cut its attack, Rando heals up, and we slash it with our sword. After stacking up a few Swords Dances, we get knocked down to our Berry, and 1 Sacred Sword takes it down. Axe Menace comes out, reducing our attack a little bit. An Ironhead gets it down to about 30%, and an EQ KOs our Bull. Setting in our Cow, he uses Fly for about 40% as we both heal back up. On the next turn, a times 4 Ice Beam gets us the KO, and his EV comes in. We set up the Poison as a Hyper Voice does about 50% to us. Swapping into his Sunny, Rando wishes to be a real boy, so we meditate on the concept for a little while. After 2, a Shadow Ball takes it out, and Channel Vial gets OHKO'd by our bunny as well. And with that, we become the Kanto League Champions, and we get to keep our body. And that is how I beat a hardcore Nuzlocke of Pokemon Infinite Fusion using only normal type fusions. If you made it this far and haven't subbed yet, what are you doing? Less than 15% of you are subbed to the channel. The best way to help me out is to go ahead and sub and share. So I'd really appreciate it. But anywho, catch you in the next video. See ya!